To order Thursday, May 11th, Kern Valley Healthcare District Board of Directors meeting. And approval of the agenda, but before we do so, let's do the flag salute and invocation. Shirley, flag salute. All right, Mr. Morton, invoke.
Please join me in covering your heart. Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to
the republic for which it stands one nation
under God,
indivisible, with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we come before you this afternoon just as a regular meeting of the Board of Directors for Kern Valley Healthcare District, and we ask that you just be with us as we make decisions and we just make correct and right decisions to better the healthcare delivery in the community. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay. On approval of agenda, do we have any changes you'd like to make to the agenda as presented? Sparks? Nope. Nothing? Oh, no. Good. Okay. In a motion to accept the agenda? You want one or do we need one? Okay. Yes. I'll move to adopt. All right. Thank you. I'll second. Thank you. Mr. Parks, you good?
Yes.
Yes. It's a show.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Okay. Mission statement is here under item 3B3 for all of us to read. Anyone has any questions on that? Item C is public comment. Do we have anyone from the public who would wish to be heard on any items before us? Seeing none. Okay. Consent agenda. Following items are considered routine, non-controversial by hospital staff. Contents listed and action items may be approved in one solid motion unless a member of the audience or the board wishes to have an item sent be considered separately. Do we have any changes or any additions or removals? Forgive me, not additions, but removal of items from consent. So, Mr. Park, no. Okay, we get a motion on that?
I'll move to accept the consent agenda as
Okay.
presented.
I'll second. Mr. Parks. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm a yes. Forgive me, guys. In the day. Foundation reports. I do not believe Deb is with us. She's on vacation.
Yeah,
She's on giving a report from down there.
she's on a beach.
Excited for that.
Auxiliary is also missed us. Do we have anyone here that's going to give either of those reports?
I can give it a little bit. There's a lot happening.
Okay. All right, no report was left for
Director Park says there's a lot happening.
Good. Works for me. All right, medical staff report, Mr. Fenstead.
I will be doing that one. And,
You're giving that report?
I am
Okay.
giving that one. So on April 6th, the ED committee met. They discussed progress on our ultrasound guided regional anesthesia program. They also discussed progress of the sepsis program and reviewed draft sepsis protocols. The committee discussed some items forwarded from other committees regarding antibiotics, various types of orders and changes submitted by pharmacy. That included indications for antibiotics, separate order for bolus and infusion, titration issues, a lot of things. Committee also reviewed regular reports, statistical reports, ED quality committee, quality measures, MERP, blood control analysis, medication shortages. The infection control committee met on April 11th, and the committee reviewed its regular reports on employee exposure reports, acute hospital infection rate, blood cultures, hand hygiene, MRSA activity reporting, Foley catheter usage, a number of other things. Bioethics committee met on April 18th, and we discussed 5150 process and transgender issues throughout the hospital. And then so that was all. Pretty lengthy discussions on those. On April 19th, we had Pharmacy and Therapeutics Committee. We discussed the COVID-19 declarations under old business. We reviewed and approved 10 policies. Committee discussed and approved order entry options for drip titration and parameters and T systems, as well as standardization of a diluent bag and volume. The committee reviewed and approved change to the formulary. And they also reviewed and approved the immediate use compounding list. That's actually was a follow-up from a prior survey finding. The committee reviewed revisions to the antibiogram format and discussed progress on the sepsis protocol. Committee reviewed two form revisions for radiology, and they also reviewed their regular reports. On April 24th, the Antimicrobial Stewardship Committee met. The committee reviewed and discussed revisions to the antibiogram format. They also reviewed their regular reports for antibiotic usage for pneumonia, UTIs, wounds, GI acute, pharmacy environmental care rounds, and microbiology line lists for the acute and SNF. Medical Executive Committee met on April 24th as well. Committee reviewed and approved 10 policies. The committee discussed progress on ultrasound guided regional anesthesia. They discussed progress in the sepsis program and reviewed draft sepsis protocols. And also approved the changes for the formula that were reviewed above. The Utilization Committee met on April 27th. The committee discussed denials of pay authorizations for admission. Committee review of average length of stay report, and they will add to the regular agenda. Committee also reviewed various reports from the UR medical records study and monthly UR worksheets. And that was the report for the medical staff.
He stays busy.
Yeah.
That was a busy month last month.
Yeah.
John, any question?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Parks?
I have several questions for Tim. No, just kidding. Since Dr. Finstead's not here, I'll wait.
Okay. Mr. McGlynn?
Glad to be back. And month that I was out, a little bit longer. Take care of your hips.
He did his PT today, just so you know.
And walked in, we had our exit conference for the SNP survey, they just left.
Oh.
Before we came in here.
Oh, good.
Survey actually was a good survey. We had very few findings. We'll see what the final shows up. Team was a good team. We had a good working with relationship with them for the most part. So we'll see what comes out of that. But yeah, some of the team, this is a team that normally they bring 3 surveyors in. They brought 8. So usually one of those is a pharmacist or reviews the meds and so forth. So they had one full-time, consultant pharmacist that they brought who was here for 3 or 4 days, just honing in on every aspect of the drugs. And they was great, very clean and so forth. So that whole process went well.
No surveyors with a bone to pick this time?
One, nothing like we've seen.
They were very pleasant.
They were very pleasant for the most part. They were really good. It's just an interpretation issue, which, again, we're blessed to have, a prior surveyor who worked for them for many years now as our assistant director of nursing in the SNF. And so he trained half of the team that was here. So he had a good working relationship with them, obviously. And I think, again, he is very excited about the quality of care that he's seen since he's been here. And so he was ready to present the units to everybody. So he did a good job. There was a new reg that came out, AB 1204. We approached it the day, I think it was day before yesterday, that we had to submit the survey. And 1204 is a health equity reporting requirement that's going to be in place for most hospitals. So Mark responded to that survey. You have to file an annual report on all your activities on various aspects of care and so forth. And so we got all through that. And then the other night, I just happened to pull the law up. For the state assembly, it turns out that district hospitals don't apply. And so we had to submit our survey by tomorrow.
Yeah.
So Mark did that.
Yeah.
Then if I thought this apply to us. So,
We don't have enough to do that.
yeah, it was pretty onerous. And it wouldn't have taken effect until 2025 because they're still developing all of the criteria, but it's going to be a nightmare. CHA, we had a meeting with the hospital CEOs last night, is pushing very hard for the state to supply $1.5 billion in additional funding for California hospitals. And this is primarily to help offset the shortages that we've experienced as a result of the state not increasing our reimbursement rates for Medi-Cal for the last 10 years. And so this is why you're seeing a number of the hospitals that are going under. The state was saying that there was a bill coming out that they were going to try to free up about 150 million. And when we were talking with some of the hospital CEOs the other day, Sequoia Delta alone said that they would need almost $50 million to kind of right their ship. And they're in default on some of their bonds as a result of the low reimbursement, because they've got a lot of Medi-Cal and Medicare patients up there. So again, there's going to be a big push to do this. And again, it's a one-time payment from the state, and they're still pushing to actually get the reimbursement rates to the hospitals changed. So this will certainly help some of those hospitals that are in desperate financial need right now. But
do we need ours increased like they might?
we would. I mean, on average, the Medi-Cal it's only cover what, Dave, 72%?
74, I think, is the new number, yeah, of costs. So that's a huge gap.
Correct. So yeah, it affects us, even though we've done well, in controlling stuff, but it's something that has not been changed in a long, long time. Today is the actual end of the federal public health emergency for COVID. I think we're all glad to see that go. It's all of the federal waivers that were extended out for a whole host of things associated with how we can reutilize space within the hospital for surges, those kinds of things, staffing issues, dietary issues, you name it. I was going through a whole list of it last night. Those all expired today. And so there's like one or two, I think, that will continue to and they'll sunset next month, I believe. So we've got some things we've got to go back and relook at. One of which is the SNFs are actually the hospital's requirement for average length of stay of 4.0 or less over the year. And so that was frozen while we were in that process. And again, as we saw, I think we actually got cited by CMS a year or so ago because we were up around 6, 7, 8 days. But it was because of COVID and so forth in the states, and we couldn't get anybody out of here because the hospitals in Bakersfield were all packed and so forth. And then those were all written off because they said, you're right, we got to waive that stuff. So
Not to mention the treatment for COVID was 5
5 6 days, right? Exactly. So anyway, and our length of stay actually has dropped, as we've seen for the last couple of months here. I think on a year-to-date basis, we're below that level right now. So, so we're kind of heading back in the right direction there. It re-implements our pre-admission screening. So you have to have the passer reviews being done on all new residents that are coming in. That has to be done before they come in. They must have either a level 1 or a level 2 pre-admission screening. And like I said, also the critical stay. Been working with our radiology company. They had some issues with regional imaging. This was they changed billing companies. They were with Change Health. The Change Health was bought out by United Healthcare, I believe. And they began having difficulty. So they moved all of their business over to a new company, Health Pro. And Change Health, and we don't know whether it was intentional or inadvertent or whatever, but somehow they sent all of the open claims to collection. So we had 100 people calling us, just complaining they're being sent to collection. I spoke with the owner, Dr. Cook, at length the other day. And he said that they're working very closely with Change Health. They're pulling all that stuff back as they become aware of those. And also that they've reached out to them, and no one is going to be have their credit rating impacted as they're not reporting any of that stuff to the credit agencies. just to protect everybody. So it's, so they're kind of working through on that.
How are they making it right with us?
Well, it's really not so much with us as it is with our patients, because this is a professional component. It's not our.
But when our patients
Oh, yeah.
are getting hassled by that, it reflects on us,
It does.
even though it wasn't
does.
our action.
True. Good question. I'll have to have that conversation with them.
Because they need to make that right with
Yeah.
us, with our reputation.
Do we have a list of the patients that were sent to collections? Because it might be something we should send a letter out to.
Yeah, but yeah, when Deb gets back, I want her to do that, to see if we can work with them to try and set that out. So, we know the ones, like I said, because, Sherry in admitting has been working, feverishly with, them to try and get those things reviewed and pulled back and corrected and so forth. And she's been getting that done. But, you know, I'm sure there's some out there that we're not aware of yet.
Yeah, you know, the ones that called to complain.
Correct. Exactly.
That was a good idea.
Bills, aren't they?
Pretty much, yeah, because it's for
150,
professional.
130.
component.
That's a good idea, was to give the patient some clarity on. the situation.
And what my thought was too, is that we put something either on the website or out on Facebook as well, just to explain what's going on. It wasn't the company's new billing service, it was the old one that they messed up on and so forth, but we're working. So if people have one that they haven't heard or done, notified us on, please do so that we can work to get those.
Yeah, when you unbill them, they'll be happy.
Right, exactly.
I just have Debbie do it now, you know, she's got a long time being down in
I'm not adverse to reaching out to her.
I had no idea she was there.
Yeah.
She was talking to me just like she was.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that like that. We've got a meeting tomorrow with Stockdale Radiology. They're gonna be coming up. We're looking at our mammography service. We've nailed it down to 2 different machines that we're looking at. And so we did have the company come up. Bob worked with the company to get the equipment removed out of there, as well as the equipment in our RNF trailer, which was, you know, beyond use anymore. So we're going to go in and take a look at that tomorrow with them and find out what changes we need to make to the space. Should be relatively minor, because we're going to literally put it in the same space that the old radiographic thing came out of, because it's already shielded. And so we don't need to do any of that stuff. So, so anyway, that's going on. We are also going to be looking to add pulmonary services to the Lehigh building. Dr. Ahmed is going to be moving into that space, probably a couple days a month. And so we're going to be subleasing some space to him, just as we did with the GI guys before.
Talked about doing any procedures and
He wants, yeah, he's going to make himself available. Right, what he told me.
he said this was pulmonary services.
Huh?
Are the new GI guys that's taking over, like the other guy, whatever his name is,
So, yeah,
are they interested? They're pretty nice doctors.
they are. They just so busy down there. They just don't have any time to come up here. Even Vogel's son, we reached out to him and he was already full staffed the minute he hit the ground. So I do have 2 others that are interested in coming on. So I've got to reach out to them here. Get that thing going. We're again still moving forward with the privileging for Dr. Ruda for the ophthalmology. And so hopefully we'll get that going here shortly when that clears. So yeah, I think there's some opportunity to really rebuild some surgery back there, which I'm looking forward to. And so is the staff.
I've been on the Dr. Leo's building a long time.
Yeah.
Can you do like local anesthesia services in that building or no? That's been so long since
Not
I did-
likely.
just was curious.
Yeah. I mean, they might be some like needlepoint injections or blood blocks or things like that. They might.
Yeah, but that
Greg does. Right,
Oh,
he does those
his-
in his office, right?
Right,
Yes, we
okay.
would need to do them there.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
On the employee retention credit distribution, we're working on a couple models. My plan is to bring that back to Personnel and Policy Committee next 2 weeks with our recommendation, so we can get some feedback from the board members on that. And then you take it to finance if we need to after that. The Again, we finalized the community directory. That was done, it's been printed, and so those are finally being distributed. You get a copy? Viewable. I haven't even seen, I looked, Ross and I looked at the online version yesterday, so. And so, like, that's pretty much it. We, there's a lot of things picking up, from being off, even though I was working most of the days I was out. There's only so much you can do on email, and Zoom meetings and stuff like that, but, we're making progress on our, HR system, with some changes that, we're gonna do there to help speed that process up, so I'm anxious to get that going, and so forth, so. That's my report.
Yes. If anyone has not seen the business guide, I have copies in my office. You're welcome to come grab some. It's a great little publication.
Yeah, I didn't see fit to get.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
I'd love like a chat with her about.
oh, that's one that had the hospital and everything.
Yep.
Oh, okay, I did
Uh-huh.
see that. I did see
Yeah.
that.
Hopefully they drop some off to.
Yeah, I think that's where I saw, yeah.
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 Look, yeah, look good.
Mr. Works, any questions for Tim? John?
No, nothing else. Fred.
Go ahead.
I do.
Go.
Oh, now you have lots of questions.
I do. On that community booklet, I don't know what they call it. It was well done.
Yeah.
Debbie did a good job, and I know she probably didn't do it single-handedly, but it was well done.
We spent a lot of time editing.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of time.
I thought it was well done. I think it'll probably be very well received by the community, and that's good information. But it lacks just a little, because it basically says who and what we are.
Yeah.
It doesn't say why. It doesn't give people the true understanding of the great services that occur here.
Yeah.
It lists everything that we do.
Right.
But God, there's such value in the services that are provided here, and we're still not telling that story.
Yeah. Well, we have other means for doing that. This is just a beginning of a continuation of things that we want to.
Okay.
So
I still want to see us do that, because
Yeah.
I like my own story
I
again.
was just gonna say maybe like little testimonials or something.
Yeah.
like that.
Exactly.
I mean, you've been in the ER too, Gene.
Oh,
Well, I'm just saying, you could give like,
just about everywhere.
I'm just saying, like positive testimonials like this
Yeah.
was my experience at or something
Yeah.
like that. I mean,
I think sharing that information with the public would be really important.
We'll find a way to do that.
I was in the ER when I cut my finger off, but that was 10 years ago.
But thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
No.
Oh, disappointed in you. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Mr. Gordon?
I don't have anything.
Go. In that case, would you like to give your report?
Yeah, sure. So I usually report on COVID positivity rate, but I'm losing that edge. I don't really have a COVID. There isn't one, and we have been zero since the beginning of the month. Last month it was 0.3%. I mean, we had a few positives come through the ER. So either people are not getting tested that have the common cold anymore, or it just isn't a COVID anymore.
Not coming out for treatment.
I suspect there still is a COVID, but I just don't see people seeking treatment for it. So
Any rattlesnake bites yet?
have not seen that yet, but we have all the nurses and the doctors have been trained on the CROFAB administration. We did that a month ago, I think, and it was well received. We do that every year, this time of year, so that we know going forward how to use it. And it's a very interesting training. I'd encourage anybody who wants to take that training. They go into how they produce it. It has to go from here where they send it to England and then down to Australia and back to England, and it's crazy. That's why it costs $3,000 a vial, I suppose.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's crazy. Don't get bitten by that.
Just if you get bit, you want that
story.
I don't care what it costs.
So the transportation service is still providing 9 to 11 rides a day. We are probably going to start charging for visits or for rides that go down to Bakersfield and over to Ridgecrest. only because they're not putting any dollars into our budget based on going to physical therapy appointments, going to clinic appointments and that kind of thing. So I think that charging, maybe the going rate is 58 cents a mile for federal reimbursement rates. So that's probably what we're gonna do. If we're, and I haven't talked to Tim and Dave about that, but I still think there's value in getting those rides done. Because it does give good PR for the community or for the hospital. So, but again, it is a costly service, especially with the price of gas today. So
We looked into, sorry, Gene, go ahead.
We were talking about clubs like Exchange and some of the harder cases and some that really need help that we can identify. Maybe picking up some of those.
some of the tab for those.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh, I would
something we
think-
could do, yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
That's why I was telling them to rejoin the Exchange Club.
But they could put their sticker exchange on our little
Yeah.
truck and.
If I know you guys, you would have charged me the $25 for buying the car for the hospital. That's what happened.
But there's a lot of clubs that would donate that exchange everybody knows.
We could certainly make a presentation. I'll put together something and come to Exchange and pitch that for sure.
And
Absolutely.
then, well, there's a whole lot of clubs, maybe Debbie, that'd be a project, because she goes out and talks to people, everything.
Okay, yeah, no, that's probably definitely well worth.
And we have certain criteria and let them know the people we're targeting so that they would be more likely to give us the money.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be some obviously that just don't have the resources to do that, you know,
Yeah,
but
I
need to get down.
Yeah.
I saw a person getting out over there. I was
On reimbursement?
yesterday, seeing Mr. Dave, our doctor.
No,
or
I am not.
Okay.
Ray Davis, and we were delivering her there, and I
Yeah.
don't know, I would have paid for a rent of spot.
Yeah.
She needed a ride. So, but, right.
So to answer your question, Fred asked the question, have I looked into getting reimbursement from the insurance companies? And I have not had a chance to do that yet. I would say, though, that if we did start charging the individual, we can help them fill out the application to then submit to their insurance company for them to be reimbursed.
Yeah, but I know that if, like Jan will tell you, we've got a number of entities that contract out.
Right.
And just one example, I've got one customer that literally called for a ride. He ended up, guy came from Lancaster, picked him up, took him to a local
Yeah.
doctor's, then in turn ran into his Bakersfield doctor, and in turn ran him back home. That guy had to have charged a fortune to the carrier.
Yeah.
I don't want to say we're missing out on it. I just want to say maybe there's
I
something
just
there.
don't know that I have. I don't have the time myself to do that, and we really just don't, and we need to actually look into that and research that. Because we're probably missing out on some low hanging fruit.
Yeah, we know Current Health and stuff like that has a means for paying for some of those things. Obviously, they gave us the money to buy the van, so you know.
Well, they also gave us an application form, but to
Yeah, right.
go onto their website to become a
Yeah.
provider is
Certificate.
very onerous, and what it requires is for us to change their billing practices, and Barbara's like, don't touch that.
Yeah.
So I stayed away from that. I really didn't want to be a part of that. If somebody in accounting wants to go ahead and do that, that's something that we.
Now, what you can do is we can provide that and build them. They can turn around and then ask for reimbursement from Current Health without us doing that. So that might be a possibility.
That's what I was kind of alluding to.
We can't do it
with the,
without that certification, but the patient can.
Right, that's what I mean. If we charge the patient, we can help them fill out the
Apply the
application
reimbursement.
and get the reimbursement from the insurance company.
Could we do it for the Lancaster people that are contracted? Could we be a subcontract?
We could reach out to them and find out again.
Well, for all of them, because we're isolated up here.
Mhm.
I just wish I had more hours in the day.
Who would do that, Jen? Who would look into that?
Him.
Him.
So anyway.
We'll find somebody.
Yeah, I would love to be able to start
Expand it, yeah.
telling you that this is a reimbursable service for sure. I would love to be able to say that, but I think it, when we when we consider people making it to their appointments and the public relations that goes along with that, I think it's a valuable service.
So one other wrinkle on that is, like if we have a trip that goes to Bakersfield and you're charging them 58 cents a mile, if there are two patients in there, do they split that 58 cents? Or do
Well,
we
they
charge
both
it twice?
They both get charged. I think that would be the way to do it.
Okay,
I mean, if you get,
then it becomes more of a profit center, and I don't know if that was.
I don't like that either.
Well, I don't know that that rate would cover everything, all the costs and stuff like that, but.
Still not a lot, 58 cents.
Right, exactly, right. You know,
Was
so.
100 miles round trip? It's so
Yeah,
that's
about,
$58 round trip. That's
That's
nothing.
the fuel.
Cheaper than a taxi, that's for sure.
So, yeah, I see your point. I think that's a good thought. But we still have a long way to go with this transportation service and, you know, we really don't have any point of contact to be able to start looking into those kinds of applications for insurance. I don't have that. Anybody in that role yet.
Those medical transportation companies, and the reimbursements just, they don't pay much.
And they have a whole business office that actually does
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Right.
and the reason you don't see many of them around, or the ones that are there don't last very long, is their reimbursement's really bad. So, you know, they do it for a few months and go broke.
Anything else on that? No, sir. So we currently have 9 students out of the original 11 that are going through the CNA program. These look pretty good, the ones that are left. So it's a progress and a process, so. Looks pretty good. Ben's gonna be a really good teacher, I think. He's savvy with the computer. They seem to like his style of teaching, so it's a good fit, I think. We do have a surgery scheduled for tomorrow, and I think for next week too. Dr. Spahn has something next week, I think. We do have to work on our preoperative scheduling and all that, because we're kind of in the process of figuring out who's going to be doing the pre-op phone calls and you know, all that stuff. So we have to work with Greg's crew and with the surgery crew. I think there's more availability for the surgery crew to be able to make those pre-op phone calls. And I think, you know, we're missing out on some of those because of that. So we're going to meet with the surgery crew tomorrow, right after the OR, the operating room case, and we'll talk with them about, because they're not here every day of the week. We flex them off during the week because they're not doing a lot. But at the same time, I think they can do more with pre-op scheduling and making sure that the labs are done, the x-rays are done, the EKG's done, any cardiac clearances that are required, that kind of stuff. So
The flu shots that we got, that Greg gave me, and I got the flu, it's probably milder than it would have. But.
it was only because it was routine.
What,
You got the extra sauce, that's right.
what's happening with flu shots? I know we're out of the flu season, right? But we look ahead far enough to September,
You're in advance.
We've already ordered flu shots for next year.
and what do they have in them? Are
It's gonna be a
they,
placebo. It's not a live virus.
are they like they were trying to target COVID and all that? Are
The flu shots that we had this year and going forward do not have any effectiveness against COVID. So
just normal stuff?
there's no combination. So there's a big process that goes through that someone smarter than me would have to explain.
Well, the shot when I did get, it was mild. I didn't really have a problem. So I guess that's probably
what it's supposed to
one
do,
of the
yeah.
things supposed to do. So thank you.
There's development obviously going on with a combined COVID flu vaccine, as I understand it. Don't know where they're at with that process yet, but hearing about it a lot lately. And that is the end.
Questions? John? Ross? Thank you, sir. Okay. Mr. Cooper, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Before I present the numbers, I wanted to pause for a minute and be appropriate to thank Barbara and her staff. I was gonna say her staff is down to 2. She has normally 4. She's been working very shorthanded and a lot of additional work this year. She's been doing heroic efforts and keeping us caught up. We're succeeding despite the lack of resources. We're getting all these audits completed. It's successfully. One thing the board should know that last year they didn't do Medicare and Medicaid audits, and now they're doubling up this year. So our workload is really expanded tremendously in the finance area as it deals with third-party audits. And I know she has her own health issues and family health issues. So just a whole lot of things going on, and I just really want to acknowledge her and appreciate all her efforts. So thank you for allowing me to do that. I know Heidi is also one that needs to get a lot of kudos of everything she's had to go through lately. So we're going to start on page 25. We're talking about the month of March.
Could you make it a little bit bigger, Dave?
Sure can. So we're 9 months through the fiscal year.
Thank you.
The line 6, gross patient revenue, 9,624,000, 13% off budget, combined with line 28, total expenses of over $3 million, 8% over budget. So when your volumes, your revenues are down 13% and your expenses are up 9%, doesn't surprise us that our bottom line, we missed budget by $672,000 for March. Some of the detail here, salaries and fringe benefits. You see some negative variances here for the month of March on line 14 and 15, 70,000 and 12,000 for March. But I'm going to flip over to the year-to-date picture, the next page, and you'll see lines 14 and 15 are actually still under budget. In fact, we've done a really good job this year budgeting labor costs. You can see we're within 0.5% on variance. We really nailed both those numbers real good on the labor costs. So year to date, we look fine. Missed it in the month of March, and we had some reclassifications that make this look confusing. Line 11 has a huge negative variance of 1.8 million, but the next line down has a big positive variance of 1.5 million. That's a reclassification of HHS stimulus monies from prior years that are now being posted to the income statement for the year. I had been told earlier in the year that was something that should have been recorded up in line 7. Now, come to find out, according to our auditor, he said it's probably more appropriate to put it as other operating revenue on line 12. So that's why you see that number so much higher, because that's above and beyond what we normally show on the miscellaneous revenue. We're also showing the COVID stimulus funds from prior years that we're starting to post to the bottom line. So that's just a reclass type of thing of why those two numbers are so different. In addition to that, what you're going to see next month is line 29. The grant row is where I've been told is where we should put the ERC money, which will be over $3 million, will show up and add to our bottom line. Now, as it turned out, the 2 checks that came in, we got one check for 1.5 million the last week in April, and then the final check of 1.5 million came in on May 1st. So we're going to end up showing very good bottom lines in the months of April and May. So even though our year-to-date after 9 months is only 874,000, we're probably going to be adding $1 million in April and $1 million in May, and we'll be up around 2.8 million by year end. Once we record the ERC monies that have, now we can record it because the cash has come in. The other thing I wanted to comment on was that we think we're going to have the budget ready for the normal time frame in the finance committee next month. So I had asked the board to consider a special meeting in the end of June, but we've made some progress and got caught up, and we should be able to present the budget the normal time frame, so that the normal board meeting in June is when you will approve the budget. So any questions or comments on our financial picture? Overall, you know, this is going to end up being a good year, close to $3 million, thanks to our success in getting the ERC amounts in, even though we had a delay in some major IGT payments of about $2 million, which will go into next year's bottom line. So really wasn't a cut in IGT, but a delay. Any questions, comments? I still plan on meeting with Greg to talk about the joint venture with the school system. We haven't gotten around to doing that yet, but that's still on my plate to also spend some time on.
Do you have any questions for Dave?
Nope.
Thank you.
I asked during finance.
Mr.
No. Thanks, Dave.
No, great.
Now, just about what Dave was talking about, though, I think we're gonna be retooling that. So Dave, we probably won't need to meet about that. We have some other ways that we're gonna approach that.
I just didn't want to get in the way of progress if you're waiting on me. I know I've been busy lately.
I'll bring up at the next building and planning about what we're kind of thinking about doing. So
Sounds good. Okay.
Okay, then. Thank you, Dave. Old business, we have none. And Mr. Nisha stepped out.
He stepped out to go meet Uber, but he said he would be back.
Okay.
We've all seen.
I know we've
What
seen
he's
everything
presenting,
about it.
so I'm gonna make a motion to get it rolling. I'll make a motion that we approve his request.
So this is for the.
It's the same.
It's just for the
Project, full scope.
Yeah, well,
Already.
That's this. I'll go
Bring
ahead.
it forward.
I'll go ahead and second.
Sure. Any questions on it?
I don't. No, I understand what's going on. I'm not happy with the single bid again and that the price went up, but delaying it longer
We
is,
parted out that it's gonna get worse.
yeah, I think we need to move on it, so
Yeah,
I support it.
I just wanted to ask, was the generator actually ready yet? Have we heard it?
It's on the way.
I know, that's the scary.
We're working on it.
Yeah. Yeah, because that thing had like a 7-month lead time.
Yeah.
11?
11 monthly. Wow.
So we
Actually got delayed.
Oh,
It was originally 7 months, what they told us, so.
We only had one question for you, Bob.
Yes,
Have we heard if the generator is even close to being ready?
I have to go look on my computer, but the generator is supposed to be here. I believe it's August.
Okay.
That gives me just about enough time to get the foundation in for it to arrive and get set.
That's this year.
This year.
Yes, then the transfer switches are supposed to arrive in December. And also a bunch of electrical switchgear related to the feed going into the acute care seismic upgrade is also December.
Okay.
Yeah. So, sorry about that.
You're good.
I had John from General Plumbing show up.
Yeah, not a problem.
Always at the wrong time.
Okay. Gene, you vote?
I'm good with it. Yes.
Yes. Michelle?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Okay. Let's get it done.
We will.
All right.
I'm gonna go grab the contract. I forgot to bring it with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sign it.
Yes.
You're up next too.
I am.
Yeah.
No,
No.
that's it.
Not that
You can
cafeteria.
take it.
It's for you, sir.
Yeah, this is just an annual review, the approval that we do of our cafeteria plan, and there are two pieces to that. One is the plan description, and the other is the cafeteria plan process. And there were only two minor changes that were made to what happened last year. They were both in regards to what happens when somebody wants to drop out of our medical insurance program and sign on to one of the marketplace, the government controlled marketplace plans and so forth. And they went into a little bit more detail. In one case, a participant could bail out mid-year if they wanted to. That's been removed. Now it has to be on either a special enrollment period or for a normal end of year conversion and so forth. So they just modified some language on that on both of those prescriptions. That was it. So we're just asking approval for those two plans so we can move forward with that.
Now, did that go through personnel? Because I didn't see anything about this until now. Where did it come from?
HR just sent it to us at the beginning of this month.
Yeah, that, like I said, normally comes through from them.
Wouldn't HR have talked about it?
I don't know if we had it back in time by then. I don't know. I'd have to ask Cassandra
Okay.
and so forth. But like I said, yeah, I did have them go back and compare one to the other.
Yeah.
Like I said, those were the only changes that were made in the whole document. So it's basically a rollover of what we had last year.
Is that pretty standard with the industry and
Yes.
what's happening now? Because
Yeah.
there's so many changes that can happen, marriage and
Yes.
loss of job, well, not specifically this job, but maybe
Yeah.
a spouse's job. There's so many things that can happen.
Right.
They need a change.
Those are all still the same in here and so forth. Like I said, the only issues was those that were looking to get out of the plan and what the process they would have to do to get into the marketplace plan for either themselves or any family members
But
associated.
it's pretty standard. It's
Yeah.
the industry.
Yeah.
And I make a motion, we accept it and present it.
Second.
I'll second, but yeah, Heidi might need to do a change because Ross is still chairman on the
I
resolution.
actually changed it on
Oh,
the
you did?
original that you're gonna sign, because I noticed that.
Oh.
I
didn't know. I'll second it.
He's looking out for you.
Any questions, Michelle?
No.
Okay. You vote?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Director's comments not appearing on the agenda, sir.
Oh.
Where do you want to start?
I want to start with the master plan.
Yes.
I have been and always will be against going to the community. Although some board members and are, I think, believe the community doesn't have a problem paying for it. We owe the community the best management we can do to make a profit, to do it what we can do. So we're coming to the point where we either got to work harder or go to community. I'm for working harder. So that's pretty much
I agree with you. Yeah. Thank you. John?
Ran into Gary Zuber at Exchange Club, and he said that the VA is going to be back at the VFW breakfast next month, and he wanted to invite the
Good.
hospital administration to come here. They have to say maybe they can come back over here, have a short meeting if you guys have time, or tour the hospital.
We will make time. We need to see that thing move faster. So
Yeah. And sorry, Director O'Connor isn't here, but
Yeah.
I've been thinking about her and hope she's, with everything going on in her life and everything. So hopefully she's doing okay. So that's all I had to say.
Sure. So I had the opportunity to serve lunch to our employees yesterday, which is always fun to do. To touch bases with the folks that are there providing the services to our.
I just noticed that your hairnet matched
It did.
your beard.
You couldn't see it. She
Couldn't
gave
even
me a
tell.
white net. It was like, right on. But I got to work shoulder to shoulder with Tiffany. And probably maybe an upside for her, maybe a downside for Tim, but she bit in my ear about the stove. And we approved a capital expenditure for this stove, $25,000 10 burner stove. And there are problems with that. And I guess with, like the whole, when you try and remodel an old building, uncover things you probably wish you hadn't. And so, they're running into problems with the fire sprinkler system to accommodate this new stove. Which would be enormously expensive to redo.
Well, Bob, if you want, Bob can give a quick update when you're done.
Sure. And well, I don't need the details.
Yeah.
The only reason I bring it up is I think it's really important to follow through with making this happen. Hopefully it won't end up costing us a whole lot more. But if it does cost us a little bit more, I want you to know I support it. I think this needs to occur. As part of the modernization that we need to do to that kitchen. And they got four burners working on a 6 burner stove, and the 4 burners don't work. You can't control the temperature. That's either all the way on or all the way off. So they're constantly having to stir because everything's on high. It's like they need our support. And I wanted to bring that to the board and say, let's give our message to Bob and to Tim to say, we need to make this happen as soon as we can and let us know what the problems are so we can get over them.
Clearly, we've spent the money. Let's spend the money and make it right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thank you. The hospital week celebration, the little piece that I saw was fun. And it's always good to be able to talk to our employees and get their feedback and just, rub shoulders with them and they're great people. So,
Yeah.
Thank
And I
you.
love to
Thanks
see
to
the
all
board
of you.
members there, so that's good to do that.
We had, you missed out, we had mocktails and sand pudding today or something. It was like beach day and they had these little Sprite with cranberries in it, made it with an umbrella, and it was a
Little
mocktail.
a Mai Tai kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
It was kind of cool. They had people dressed up like they're going to the beach and stuff.
That's fun.
Yeah, every day was a different theme and so forth. And they, like I said, you missed Tiffany the day before, but that was even better than what you saw.
Really, because
yesterday.
yesterday was pretty awesome. They dressed as the twins on The Shining.
Yeah. That was kind of creepy.
Yeah. They stood in the hallway and went.
Halloween came.
Thank you for bringing that up, because obviously those are the things.
Yeah.
That's also why we ask.
Yep.
The employees to reach out to their supervisors, because those are the kinds of things that we need to make sure we get repaired and fixed.
Yeah.
And it's discouraging when we hear it, but hopefully we have a game plan in place to fix that sooner than later.
We have some things we're working on. The issue is that when, they were at the end of the 6 burner stove, there are 2 steam pots, that cook soups and things like that in there. And invariably, when she's cooking for the size of the people we serve here, you got to do it in both pots instead of one larger one or whatever. But that, because it's not an open flame source on that, it's not underneath the Ansel system under the hood.
So the hood.
And so forth. So, but by taking that out to put a 10 burner stove in there, now made it longer than the hood and the Ansel system, which would have cost us a fortune to change that out. So we've got some things that Bob has looked at and looking into, that we might be able to shift a piece of equipment to the other end. And then slide it down and maybe still give her the 10 burner stove. So we're looking at that as one option. So we've got a couple of things we're looking at there.
Obviously, with the industry that myself and Mr. Parks are in,
Yep.
when you get involved in restaurants, what you are dealing with right now is a key factor in you being able to obtain insurance.
Yep, exactly.
So
Exactly.
let's just make it right for our team.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and like I said, one of the other things, like I said, we went at this from a perspective of replacement in kind of 6 burners. Well, initially it was going to be a 6 burner for 6 burner, and even that we couldn't do. Primarily because they sit down with the seismic crap. You've got to anchor this thing to the floor. Like you didn't have to do when we put it in, so many years ago.
And at the same token, based on the age of the extinguisher system,
Yeah.
it's probably not compliant as it is now.
What is now?
I actually upgraded it last year.
Yeah.
So it's been all redone,
That's what I said.
but it still doesn't cover where the additional 4 burners will be.
Right, exactly. That was the problem.
Taking the cabinet out, sliding everything over may or may not be an option. It's still gonna require some modifications to the Ansel system because of how many
Yeah.
heads have to be directed down to that cooking surface. So I took a bunch of pictures. I'm getting a proposal from our architects. They're also plans to permit. Because whatever we're gonna do, we have to do a permit. I talked with Oshpod and they said, no, you cannot do a change out in kind. It's not. It has to do with anchorage. It has to do with upsizing the wire, the breaker. Because it doesn't need a new stove, even a new.
Higher amperage, yes. Yeah.
So I should have that off.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And
Thanks for getting on.
I was mistaken on the date for the arrival of the generator,
Yes, sir.
week of July 19th,
Oh, even better.
Even better.
Great.
Awesome.
Bakersfield. So obviously we gotta get going real quick.
Yes, sir.
The slab and all the work that has to happen before the slab.
Besides that, just thank you to everyone for being here. It's always a pleasure to meet. I don't know that we've ever had a meeting only last an hour, and clearly I'm doing something wrong.
You're doing really good. You should have been chairman 2 years ago.
But with that said, everyone, please have a safe day. Have a great month. And I'll be working at Derby headquarters all of next week. I'll be like that. Have a good day, everyone.
Take care.
Thanks.